Hello from the University Concert Hall, Limerick. Today I have the great pleasure to talk to the amazing storyteller Eddie Lenihan. Eddie is a collaborator in our upcoming I Create Online episode, where he recounts the tale of mortal enemies, the cat and the dog, and their race to decide their spot beside the farmer's fireplace for all time. Eddie, welcome to the University Concert Hall here in Limerick. How are you today?
I'm still alive. Despite them all.
Absolutely. Well done is what I'd say. The first thing I want to ask you is about the tradition of a shanachie. So the idea of stories being told from generation to generation, people assume that that's a speaking job. And I'm wondering how much of a listening job that is.
A good point. It is a speaking job, as you call it, a speaking job. I never regarded it as a job, and certainly not the listening part of it, because if you don't listen in this kind of work, there we go again, work, job, if you don't listen, you can't speak. And for the past 45 years now, because the first of these recordings I did back in 1975, 46 years ago now. I'm getting old. And I still regard myself as a young lad. But look, I used to have a fine head of curly hair one time. But most of the people I recorded, ordinary people going about their ordinary business, but some extraordinary, because I was always interested in fairy stories. People, for example, who believed solemnly in the fairies. Very often religious people. People who would tell you they met the fairies. Now these, remember, weren't the fairies for children at all, that kind of nonsense. These were the good people. Nadine Ushle, Bonachnik, you know, the people, the fairies that go back, the pre-Christian fairies. That if you interfered with, you'd pay a price. It could cost you your life. It could cost you your health. They're still there.
We've got something for you to listen to, which is your story that you adapted for the ICO, and the music has already been put to the story. And so what we wanted to ask you to do was if you to listen to a little bit of it.
I'm looking forward to that, because I've never heard the like before.
Exactly. And then perhaps I'll ask you something about how you feel having heard your story with music together.
Right.
Whistled, and off they went for the house. Now, of course, you know as well as I do that a dog, especially a sheepdog, is faster than a cat, and whoosh, off went the dog, and the cat was left behind, and the dog was gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining all the time on the cat, the nearer they got to the house. And it looked a foregone conclusion who was going to win.
So before I ask you what you thought, I have to say, sitting watching you listen to that was absolutely amazing. To see your reaction to hearing something for the first time felt like a real privilege. So thank you very, very much for.
Well, trust me, I hadn't heard somebody else putting their angle or their layer on top of another layer, like the story, and the music on top of the story. So it was unusual, to say the least.
Yeah. And how do you feel when you hear that?
Waiting for the next bit to see how it would be done.
Yeah. Okay.
I was waiting for the gaps to see how they would leave a gap for the silences more than anything else.
Yep.
And they did. Because it was a case of would the music blot out the story, and it didn't. It didn't. The two of them complemented each other very well.
Yeah.
It did.
So as we move on to the story, so what is it? I don't know really how to sort of say it really, because of course the story is important. All stories are important, but what is it about this story that's important to you?
I think that story is one that was definitely for adults in its time. But I find now when I visit schools or anything like that, it's a story that does both adults and children, oddly enough.
And is that unusual, that story?
It is because children like that story. And I think today the reason they like it is because most people have a cat or a dog, or maybe both.
Yeah.
But I don't like cats personally, you see.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll often tell them that, I hate those dusty animals. And you get their backs up, it's just great to have a go off with kids like that. And I tell them, you can talk to dogs. My dogs talk to me. And of course dogs do, in the sense, that their eyes talk to you, where cats are cold bastards. They are. Cats will they'll use you.
Yeah, for what they want.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
That's just a different animal. I mean, I'd respect cats because they're a wonderful animal to have around. You'll have no rats while you'll have cats.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd feed them, but I'd never let a cat into my house.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd let the dogs into the bed. They're a wonderful hot water bottle. And I mean, when I go home now, my two dogs, they have their own two armchairs. And they'll be at home, and they'll be there, with their four legs up in the air. Yeah, I love dogs, I always have. But I find that it's animal stories that Irish people, they sympathise with. And the Irish folklore is full of animal stories and bird stories. There's weasel stories. There's hedgehog stories, there's cat and dog stories, there's pig stories, there's stories about any animal practically you want to name. And that, of course, is because Irish people were close to their animals. And it's probably the same in most cultures. Before mechanization took over, people needed animals, and animals needed, well, not all animals, not all animals, but domestic animals needed people. And it's as simple as that. You needed your animals if you wanted to survive.
Eddie Lenihan, thank you so much. It's been an absolute privilege to talk to you today.
Thank you.
I'm very grateful to you for making the time.
And I hope and I wish that there would be more such things as the cat and the dog and the music, because it's a whole new thing to me to hear such things.
Perfect.
Thank you.
The Race is a magical collaboration between storyteller Eddie Lenihan, ICO violinist and composer Una Keogh, and animators Philip Shanahan and Paul Shinners. It will be broadcast on ICO social media channels tomorrow. Take care, and I will see you very soon.